When he sold that garden, he didn't understand his mother's tears. Thomas turned 80, and by then the trembling in his hands had increased, but his memory remained sharp, especially that spring day. The moment his mother silently turned away as he signed those papers. It was 1968. Thomas was 30 years old and considered himself a practical modern man. His mother, Margaret, was getting old, 75 years old, living alone in a small house. Behind the house, she had a garden, a tiny garden, maybe 20 steps long. Margaret had been cultivating that garden for 40 years. Her tomatoes, her roses, her mint plants. Every morning she'd wake up early, take her tea, and go out to her garden. Neighbors would see her there. She seemed to talk to the soil. In those days, Thomas had come to talk to his mother. There was a serious offer. The neighbor from the adjacent lot wanted to buy Margaret's garden. He was offering good money. To Thomas, it made sense. His mother was old. What would she do with a garden? "Mum," Thomas had said, "this money would be good for you. Maybe you could move to a more comfortable place. Maybe come live with us." Margaret wiped her hands on her apron. For a long time, she said nothing. Then softly, "That garden is my life, son." Thomas laughed. A well-meaning but uncomprehending laugh, and, "Mum, it's just a garden. You can make a new one in a new place." Margaret said nothing. She just nodded and went to the kitchen. A week later, Thomas brought the papers. His mother signed. She didn't cry. She just looked out the window after putting down the pen. At the garden, 3 months later, the neighbor leveled the garden, poured concrete, made it a parking space. Margaret no longer went outside in the mornings. She'd sit by the window. She'd drink tea, but not like before, as if a part of her had gone. 6 months later, Margaret got sick. Thomas took her to the hospital. Doctors examined her. They found nothing. "Old age," they said. But Thomas saw something in his mother's eyes. Emptiness. Margaret died a year later. Quietly, one night, Thomas cried at the funeral, but something was missing inside him. As if he hadn't just lost his mother, but had lost her long before. 50 years passed. Thomas was now 80 years old. His children had grown up. He had grandchildren. One day his granddaughter came over, little Emily. She was 9 years old. She had planted flowers in small pots on their apartment balcony. "Grandpa," Emily said excitedly, "look, I grew a tomato." Thomas looked. A tiny green tomato. The pride on Emily's face, that happiness. In that moment, something happened inside Thomas, as if a curtain had lifted. He remembered his mother, those mornings, those hands in the soil, that quiet happiness. Margaret wasn't just growing vegetables in that garden. That garden was her connection to life, her reason to wake up in the morning, her way of talking to the world. Thomas understood that day that when his mother signed those papers, she hadn't just lost a garden, she had lost herself. And Thomas, the practical modern man, had sold his mother her life, just for some money. That day, looking at Emily's pots, he cried, like he had never cried before. Emily didn't understand, tried to comfort him. "Don't be sad, Grandpa. I'll give you tomatoes too," the little girl said. Thomas held her close and whispered, "Never sell these pots, Emily, never. No matter how much money they offer." Emily didn't understand, but she nodded. Thomas knew now. Sometimes the things people value seem foolish to others, but that doesn't mean those things are worthless. Those things might be where that person's heart beats. His mother was gone now, the garden was gone too. But Thomas had learned something. Understanding what someone you love values is truly loving them. He had learned this too late. But at least he had learned it in time for Emily. And maybe that's what life is, not letting the next generation live through the pain of the previous one.